Hi everyone, I'm Molly Phelps, community organizer here at St. Francis Episcopal Parish and Community Center. So earlier this month, Amy shared the story of Dorothy Day and her commitment to radical hospitality through her work at the Catholic Workers Movement. This essentially was the publication of a newspaper which turned into the housing, feeding, and clothing of people during the Great Depression era that at its height ended up having 30 communal living facilities and farms throughout the world. So her philosophy was to let people stay as long as they needed, even if it meant that people would stay in those facilities for the rest of their lives. They essentially became part of the family, and they had somewhere that they could belong. And that's really at the heart of what I want to share with you all today. So I want to think about belonging, this idea of belonging and how we need it to survive, and the implications that come with making that commitment to make space for belonging in our communities. So belonging is one of our basic needs as humans. It's right there next to safety and dignity. We really feel like we need to belong somewhere. This is just as important to us as feeling like we are safe and that we have a roof over our head. We are really communal and social beings by nature. So I'd like to do something a little different to start. I'd like you to think about somewhere in this world that you feel like you belong. I think for me, a personal example would be I feel like I belong in my family. I have a really close relationship with my parents and with my significant other, and I feel like I belong in those close relationships that I have. Even in some of my really close friendships, I really have the sense that these people understand me and I can trust them, and this is a place where I feel safe and I want to be, and that I'm willing to work in solidarity with them through anything, even if it's challenging. So I think the question then is, what does it really mean to belong somewhere? For me, I think belonging is part of my actual value system. To me, it means that everyone can belong. And it's not just that everybody can belong, but also that they get a voice and that they have some agency in making decisions for themselves and for their community. And that they get to participate in how things are structured and also how they get treated. And I really think that belonging is the stuff, the real glue, the stuff that holds communities together. Without it, we don't have trust, we don't have mutual respect, and we don't have the ability to really meaningfully grow and learn together and from one another. I don't know about you, but I've definitely been in spaces before where I felt for a little while that maybe I belonged and maybe I had a chance to belong, but I ended up excluded or I ended up feeling othered. And I've been in spaces where I felt like I never belonged. And I can't speak for everybody, of course, but this exclusion and othering is common, and it happens all the time. And really, the more marginalized that you are, the more that the dominant culture, the more that the media, that leadership and societal structures encourage and actually perpetuate othering and exclusion. And I know I've talked about that before. So, as I was preparing for this SSS today, I reflected back on what I said to you all in my first one almost a year ago to this day. And in that video, I asked the question, what does community really mean? And I think that even now, that question is still very much on the table. In my mind, we have to answer this question if we're to understand why we are doing the work that we do here. If we don't know who is in our community, if we don't know who belongs here, we cannot effectively share the story of St. Francis Episcopal Parish and Community Center. We can't figure out where it fits into our own story either. And I think that's an interesting question. Who belongs here at St. Francis Episcopal Parish and Community Center? And what does it mean for someone to belong? And who gets to choose who belongs and who doesn't? Is that something that we impose on ourselves? Does the wider culture dictate what we are supposed to believe about it? Does our historical context force us to think a certain way about it? Do we even know or recognize when we're engaging in behaviors that exclude an other? So I think the real question on the table is, what would it mean for us to answer these questions? And then, what do we do with the answers that we find? Thank you.